Good morning, chat. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a great day. I am doing pretty good. As of now, I'm recording this a day after the Best Sounds in Aviation 2 dropped on the channel. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out. It's a pretty cool video, I think. And again, as per usual, guys, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss out on the streams because I'm a streamer. I'm live. I'm like... I'm him. I'm the streamer. I got the shorts, follow the TikTok, you know what to do. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is another Quora thing. This is not really specifically going off of my Quora answer, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about nomenclature as far as aircraft goes and how that's changed in the United States government over the years, because it has a surprisingly, I think, a very interesting and a little complicated history when you actually go in and think about it. So, I like, we can really just start it off by saying that the designations for aircraft have not always been consistent. Like what we see today, like with the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 and like the F-16 or the B-2 Spirit or like that kind of stuff is very simplified from what it used to be. Because before that, well, specifically before 1962, it was much more complicated than that. I'm going to, before we get into the history of it, I'm just gonna real quick go through the what each like major designation means right now in the current U.S. military nomenclature system, just to get it through. So A stands for attack, like the A-10 Thunderbolt II. B stands for bomber, like the B-1B Lancer. C stands for cargo, like the C-130 Hercules. D stands for drone/UAV. Also, by the way, I'm referring to only the prefix, I guess, if you want to call it that, like the F-14, not anything after that. That determines the actual version or variant of that, right? So C stands for cargo, C-130. D stands for drone/UAV. E stands for electronic warfare, like the EA-18 Growler. F stands for fighter. G stands for glider. H stands for search and rescue/helicopter, like the HH-60 Pavehawk, which is a really good example. K stands for tanker/aerial refueling, like the KC-135 Stratotanker. L stands for laser equipped/cold weather operations, like the L-1, I guess. M stands for special operations. O stands for observation. P stands for maritime patrol. Q stands for UAV, generally a combat UAV. R stands for reconnaissance. S stands for anti-submarine or surveillance or space plane. T stands for trainer. U stands for utility. V stands for vertical takeoff and landing. X stands for a special research aircraft. Y stands for a prototype. And Z is for a planned aircraft or a lighter than aircraft, like a blimp or something. Going through all of that, those are what we currently use across every branch of the military and the government. It is very simple and very straightforward. It just goes by those names, and then you have your prefix, then you have the number of it, so it goes from the earliest version of that type to the latest. So like say F-35 would be the latest fighter, and then there's the F-35 A, B, C. That's just different variants of that airframe, so you can kind of look at it that way. But before that, let's get into the history. This nomenclature system was enacted in 1962 under the United States Tri-Surface Aircraft Designation System, which was designed by the DoD to make it a little bit more simple, because before this system was put into place, each branch of the military used different nomenclature systems, so it was extremely complicated when you actually went into it. Like a good example would be before the introduction of it, the F-4 Phantom II, and this says on the wiki page, but the F-4 Phantom II was designated the F-4H by the U.S. Navy and the F-110 by the Air Force, so it just wasn't consistent. And then there were, they had different naming for things, like say the extremely complicated the more you look into it, so they went into this. But before the Air Force and the U.S. Army Air Forces, there was the prefix P, which standed for pursuit. So like P-51, P-47, P-38, they were all pursuit aircraft, and they were meant for air-to-air combat, right? Or B standard for bombardment. A standard for artillery. G, a ground attack, like that kind of thing. It was a lot it was a lot more complicated, and it used less, I'd say, efficient nomenclature, and it wasn't exactly an ascending numerical order, if I'm correct as well. While what you see today, after the Tri-Service Aircraft Designation System, they switched it so it went in ascending order. So the F-4 Phantom was the 4th fighter that was designated that after the aircraft designation system. And you might be asking, like, on hatch, if that's the case, then why is there like a gap between the F-16 and the FA-18, right? Well, that's because there was the F-17, which was a prototype aircraft at the time, right? Memory serves right. That was actually the Hornet. It was the Northrop YF-17 was the prototype. It was the prototype version of the FA-18 Hornet. So that's what it was called. It was the YF-17 Cobra. So you can think about it that way. And these things, it goes through. So that means after the FA-18, there was the YF-19, 20, 21, and then of course the F-22, which became an actual production aircraft. And then it went all the way to the F-35. There's from the YF-32 or the XF-32 and some other aircraft that I probably forget, but you can think about it that way. So, you know, those kinds of things. I don't think they're 100% strict to the actual ascending nomenclature, like ascending numeric order, though. At least in the sense of it being back to back. Like, it's not always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say, a good example would be the KC-135, right? That thing. There hasn't been 134 separate tanker airframes before the KC-135, but it's called that. It's always going to be. And then, hold on, I might just be wrong because the KC-46 exists. Chat, type 1 if I'm crazy. So the KC-46 Pegasus. After doing a little bit of research, I guess the fucking military is just stupid. Like, genuinely. The F-117 was supposed to be at the F-19 if we're talking about order of production, but they called it the F-117. Now, some of these things might be, I don't know, because military secrets and that type of thing, because, you know, look at it this way. Look at it this way. Like the U-2 Dragon Lady, that thing is U, its designation is U, utility, but it's not a utility plane. So, you know, that kind of thing, it's a military secret. So maybe they did it in that way, but I don't understand. I guess they used to have some sort of a strict ascending order, but then they kind of threw that out the window as the years went on. Or they only did that with fighter aircraft. So, hey, I don't know. I'm not the president of the United States or anything, but hey, that's an interesting thing to look about. And as far as other militaries, other countries, I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to be honest with you. I would love to make another video on this. If you guys would like to see that, where I go a little bit more in depth onto other countries, like say different other countries in the European Union do, or what Russia and China, how they do it, I think that definitely I could do another video on this, do some research, and see about what it's like in other countries as far as the designation. Tell me if you guys would like to see that. Besides that, I don't really have much else. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna go play some Helldivers. And hey, chat, type 1 if you love the video. Alright, make sure to fucking subscribe, and I will talk to you guys eventually.